Hello.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Because you kind of keep freezing. I don't know if it's my internet or if it's from your side. I don't know if it's the video that takes
Am I
a
still
while.
freezing?
Yeah, you kind of go in robotic mode.
Probably it's mine.
Yeah. Okay, let's just try the
Okay,
audio for you
so
and
I think yeah, yeah. I've turned off the video. Can you
cool.
hear me well now?
That's much better. Much better. Thanks.
Okay, that's fine. I've also kind of changed position. Awesome. Everybody welcome today. I think we'll just go ahead. I wanted to give time for introductions, but I think we'll just go ahead and start our conversation today. And then as you ask your questions, you can go ahead and introduce yourself and yeah, so that we can get to know you. So we're going to have an interactive conversation and find out about Comfort, about her journey as a creative so far, and just learn from her. And I'm really excited that we finally started this. We've been talking about this for a while.
Yes.
So I'm glad, yes, so I'm glad that we've actually started this. And we're going to have many more conversations with creatives in the coming weeks. So we decided with Comfort that we'll do part 1 today. So we'll do a conversation with her today, and we'll also have her on another time to do another edition, if you may. So I would just like to start by introducing her. I hope I can still be heard well.
Yeah, you're absolutely clear.
Awesome. Great. So I'm going to just read her bio as a way of introduction. Ugandan born, now UK-based mother of 2 little ones, Comfort Badaru Smithson is a true creative entrepreneur in every word. Comfort launched and successfully grew 2 businesses, both in UK and Uganda, during the pandemic, while being a stay-home mom as well. One being Letasi Design Studio, a lifestyle brand and social enterprise promoting handmade batiks in East Africa. And the second being Fundi Books, an African-inspired craft subscription box aimed at encouraging crafting and DIY. DIY is do it yourself, to customers who receive materials to make a new project every month. We'll find out more about that. And these 2 businesses led to a lot of Comfort's work being featured in prominent UK media outlets. She has now recently started an interior styling company, 31 Homes UK, through which she will now be able to start her journey into doing her passion in architecture and design, which she studied and trained for. I am excited, people. I'm excited to hear this story. Though I know the story, I'm excited to hear the story from Comfort herself. And I'm also excited to hear the questions that will come out of this conversation. So yeah, let's get right into it. Comfort, I would like to welcome you to introduce yourself and tell us a bit of your story from your perspective, your journey as a creative. What's your journey as a creative? Over to you.
Great. Yeah, well, you pretty much said half of my story already, but I'll still go ahead and share what I can. So where do I start? Thank you, first of all, for this. I'm always excited about an opportunity to share my story, not just because I just feel like doing it, but I think it's been such an incredible journey, and in one way or another it feels like a testimony for me to be able to share the story every time. And I also love just to get people to understand that regardless of where you are, you can always do it. So I was, as you've all heard, born and raised in Uganda, Kampala. I'm a Gayaza girl. That's where I did my high school. From there, I moved to Tanzania to do my architectural degree. And I think that is the moment. I've always, like, even in Gayaza, I've always kind of sensed a bit of a different twist to how I to doing things. It's never been entrepreneurial. Eventually I realized it was being creative, but I've always had this curious thing of, everyone says let's go this way. I'm like, yeah, I'll find you guys there, but let me just try this way first, and then we'll eventually get there. So that's the best way I like to describe my own creative journey and how it normally it tended to start. And so when I did my architectural studies, the first thing that pushed me to do architecture was basically the love for creating a space that people feel the that aha moment of, this is where I want to be, this is what I want to do. So, and I'm very kind of specific about that, because it's not about a new build, it's not about construction from the ground up. No, that's really not what it's about. For me, it's once the feeling of what you get, all your five senses need to be actually affected when you get into this space. So that's what pushed me into doing architecture. And the more I started to do it, the more I realized I actually like to deal with things that people have already in their hands. What they have within them, how can you work with them? Because it was always a case of people saying, oh, but I can't do this, I don't have this space, I don't have, looking over, like looking on, how they say the grass is green on the other side. And I always felt like, no, that shouldn't be the case, because that stops so many people from doing things. So that's also the other reason why in my architecture journey, that's probably the first pivotal moment of creative entrepreneur in me, because while I was studying architecture, by the second year was something I've always loved, sort of writing and sort of journalistic kind of curious, stories and stuff like that. So that's where I developed and started Anza magazine with a group of friends of mine in university, because I always kept saying, yes, there's architecture, but there's something else that architecture can offer that people don't really think about. Hence the start of Anza magazine. And Anza magazine was basically the first East African magazine of its kind. Now we were never doing about floor plans or anything like that. It was just a magazine to discuss, and it's still going, thank God. We're in the process of re-strategizing and restructuring it, but thankfully it's still going. So this is now, should I say, is it 11 years now? I think I would probably say so. So that's where it started. And then while I was obviously still in Dar es Salaam, finished my degree. Anza's still going strong. And then I think practice-wise, I did a lot more with the historical buildings of Dar es Salaam. And I was working with an organization called the Dar es Salaam Architecture Center for Architectural Heritage, which was basically taking an old building and refurbishing it and bringing it back to life in the best way possible. So basically being modern, but yet still, preserving its structures and stuff like that. And then from there, I, in the midst of all that, because again, I've always just been the kind of person who says, you don't need to have a fancy degree. You don't need anything fancy. You just need to have what you look at what you have within you and try and start from there. So while I was doing my training or working in Dar es Salaam, I got people asking, do you want to go and do a master's? And I've always been the kind of person saying, no, you don't need extra studies to be able to achieve. Because I was working with the EU, it was an EU grant, and I thought I was doing quite well anyway. But I thought again, okay, fine. Everyone is saying, let's go do this master's. And I did get the opportunity, and I thought, let me not just throw this away. And so I took, and they said, it's just 1.5 years, I'll go get it and then come back and continue doing what I'm doing, what I do best. So I went to Germany and did a master's in urban management. Again, urban management, particularly because I wanted to work with space, like publics and people rethinking their public space, as opposed to just, a single small dwelling. And then from there, I was with my then fiance by the time we moved. And then I moved, once I finished my program, we got married, and then I moved to the UK. Now, when I moved to the UK, I'd always, another thing about me, I'd always said when I do start to have kids, I want to be in the life of my kids 100%. I want to be able to raise them myself. I want to literally be a stay-home mom. And difficult as it was, because I'm just a go-getter, I just like to do things and I like to be independent. Difficult as it might have seemed at that moment, I said, you know what, fine. I've got my child now. And I promised myself and I told God, this is what I want to do. So I will take care of him and, take care of my children until a point when I know, okay, now they're old enough and they're in school or something, which is probably around nursery time. So I said, okay, for the next 3-4 years, I'm taking a career break. And it was hard. It was it was a bit difficult. So I thought, okay, let me just do this. So while I was there, of course, raising my child happily, he's a brilliant child, doing well. But me being me, I just could not sit and do that. I mean, there's always time, like I'm raising him, he's playing and stuff like that. And then I kept thinking, okay, but then he's sleeping now. So what do I do with myself in that time? So I thought, okay, let me just keep trying out, like, because I just generally love to do things, to create things, to make things. So I thought, let me just use this moment to, just be creative and do stuff. So that's where I started. I had this fabric, like the fabrics, obviously, that were given to us during our introduction, not introduction, Quanjula, as I think it would be. And I also had some fabrics from Tanzania, which I had got, and I'd met these girls, the batikas, before. Now, I hadn't thought about doing a batik business before, but I just loved their fabrics. I loved their creativity. And I was just like, gosh, I need to have this fabric. So I got that. And so I was looking at this pile of fabrics that I had, and I thought, okay, maybe I could just sell the fabrics. But the other thing is with East Africa, I had nailed it. Like I'd figured out, how to sort of work around, take advantage of the opportunities, and especially Tanzania, there's quite a lot that I was able to take advantage of. And Uganda, I was able to, sort of weave my way through. So moving to the UK, I was like, oof, yeah, I'm not really sure how I'm going to do that here. The rules are different. You can't exactly just wing it, as it were. You need to have things proper. Like there's all kinds of things. People will sue you for sending wrong products. So I just thought, let me stick to what I'm doing best and just stay home mom. And even if you have ideas and stuff like that, let's just do it. Just stick to it. So that's what I did. And so I just sort of started making my own things. And I thought, okay, I need to find a way to really channel my creative energy somewhere, put it somewhere. And I'd always loved sewing. I'd never touched a sewing. I mean, the last time I did sewing was in high school to, guys, we have to sew our uniforms up. And that was the last time. But I thought it's a great avenue. It's a nice way to be creative. I think actually sewing is really a cool way of getting creative and very hands-on, as always. I love being hands-on. So yeah, so my husband thought, okay, I'll get you your sewing machine. I got my sewing machine. And then I bought all these sewing books and I thought actually trying to learn about the neighborhood as well where I'm living and getting to meet people, I could go and, do these sewing classes with the kids. But lo and behold, of course, think sewing, needles, all those dangerous objects with a 3-month-old baby around, not the best idea. So I thought, well, if that's not going to work out there, I might as well teach myself how to do it while the kids are sleeping. So that's what I did. I taught myself how to sew. And yeah, it was just such a great channel for me to be able to take, to learn how to sew and create things and make things, which was awesome. And then yeah, so that's where and that's where it started. So then it kind of gave me a little bit of confidence to think, okay, let me try selling the fabrics because they're so good. Let me try selling the fabrics. I did set up a business to try, like that was because we moved to UK 2018. 2019 I tried to set up the business a little bit, did the sold the fabrics here and there. Well, I didn't actually sell. I took pictures and stuff. I think I sold one, but I was still having this other fear of, ooh, am I doing it right? I don't know what I'm doing, like I have no idea. So I let go of that. And then I just decided to keep challenging myself to sew things, to make things and learn how to make things. And I did. And it was amazing because I learned so many ways of, just being able to make things. Like I made things that I couldn't believe I could actually make, but it was great fun. And I challenged myself to it, like from a simple dress that I was making for myself, like a simple daytime dress, all the way to a full-on ball gown that was rendered worthy of being. And I was in Bath, this lovely historical city in the UK, and we were in one of these buildings, things that you see in what's this movie that's going around at the moment, or this series, basically those Georgian kind of dressing and stuff like that. And I was quite happy with that result. So from there, it gave me a bit of confidence. And then in 2020, and I started to slowly work my way into thinking, you can actually set up a business. So I started to interact with people, kind of slowly looking around and understanding how things are done business-wise, small business-wise, here in the UK. And then that's when, by the time it was coming to March 2020, I actually officially launched Letasi UK. Now, I'd sort of slowly launched it a bit, I think around December. Like not launched it, I'd slowly started to bring it up in December. But by March 2020, which was last year, that's when I officially went like full on and said, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do it 100%. And yeah, so I did it. And of course, I sort of got a coach to do it, to teach me through. But it didn't really feel like they were giving me the generic things. And again, I'm just not, I don't consider myself generic, because I like to think carefully and really understand and say, hey, does this actually work for me? Is it, because they're giving you generic things. They're not thinking about your situation of, you're a stay-home mom, you've got kids, you need to work around this and stuff like that. So I had to figure out how to make all those things work around my reality, my situation. So that's how I launched Letasi, kind of went by the book for a bit. I actually remember talking to someone and someone saying, hey, yeah, your Instagram is just too messy. You need to clean it up. You need to have a theme, as in told me point blank. And I was like, oh, okay. And that was here in the UK. So it was hard. It was hard to start with, but I always thought, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I love to do. And yeah, so and luckily, thankfully, not even luckily, thankfully, 6 months down the road, Letasi was flying. Like everyone was excited about it. The fabrics were going, and that was here in the UK. And when I started, the more I kept posting things, the guys in Uganda loved them as well. So I also started to sort of get fabrics going in Uganda. And for a while, it was actually just the beginning for Uganda to act. Weirdly enough, it's just next door, Tanzania, but Uganda hadn't really picked up the point about, batik fabrics, handmade fabrics. Like people actually can make this stuff by themselves, by hand. It's not machine made in any shape or form. It's actually maybe just the plain fabric that they start with, but otherwise, yeah. And then from there, around August, me being me, creative, always just loving to do things, because I launched Letasi in a way that it had to be solely and 100% batik fabric. I had to find an avenue to channel my other creativity, which is because everywhere I'd turn, I'd be like, ooh, okay, I'd love to make this. And it was stuff in the house. Then literally, that's, again, everything is within your reach, it's before you, in front of you. So it was stuff like in the house, I don't know, maybe like a lampshade and or it was just stuff that I kept doing as out of sort of a DIY kind of just trying it out. And then the more I did that, the more I realized, oh, I actually love crafting. But because I'm just such a crafty person, I needed to find a way to sort of channel it in a more organized way. And then that's when I discovered the subscription box method. Now, subscription box doesn't work in Uganda just yet, and it's something I'm trying to work out, but it works here in the UK. So basically, how you subscribe to Netflix and you're paying every month for something, or how you pay for, literally subscription, you pay for a service every month or something like that. So that's how I launched the craft kits and the craft boxes. So every month I would think of a project that people can do, an easy one. And me being an architect, it has to be functional, it has to be something useful and pretty at the same time. So that's what I launched in August of 2020. And again, the minute I launched it, people were just excited about it. And what made mine different, because craft kits are there, subscription boxes for crafts are there, but what made mine different was that it was African inspired. And even it being African inspired, again, it was the first of its kind. No one had really thought about an African inspired. So African inspired meaning it's not like I'm just using African fabric or stuff like that. There has to be a bit of African heritage or culture or an idea that's African in there. That's what made it unique. And so fast forward to, I don't know, 4 months or so. I mean, by 4 months it was doing great. I had up to about 50 subscribers, and people loving these boxes every month, and they were just looking forward to the next one every month. Basically, I'll just send them the material, send them instructions of what's going to be done, and then they'll have them every month. And again, this is something that I'm working on trying to bring to Uganda. And hopefully it will be in soon, hopefully. So yes, those are the two businesses, and I'll break it down in detail further along the way, but that's generally my creative journey so far. And as Kezia mentioned in the intro, right now my latest, and this is now because the kids are actually at preschool and nursery, I have a bit more time like now to have these discussions and to actually do stuff. So, and I remember in the beginning when I said this was the plan, I always wanted to be a stay-home mom, take care of my kids, and as soon as they go to school, I get back into doing my career and what I love most, which is architecture and design. And that's where the new businesses come in, which is 31 Homes UK. And it is actually a properties or home styling and staging company. And I'll discuss that a bit more. But yeah, that is pretty much my story I kind of went overboard, but in a nutshell. So I'll let you guys ask the questions, and Zia ask me the questions, and we'll see how I can channel in more of the discussion.
Wow. Like, I don't know. I wish I could see people's reactions and see, see people's facial expressions. I think that's the benefit of like a physical. Honestly speaking, it's everything that you've said is really amazing. And the one question that's bugging me right now that I cannot keep is, how do you do everything? I think the question here is, how do you manage everything? What systems do you have in place to sort of manage everything that you do and to keep it running well? Yeah. Talk to us about that a bit. Yeah.
So while I had Fundi Box, which is the subscription business, and Letasi, let's start with Letasi. The way I started Letasi and the way I've been working with it is I basically was very, very real with my situation. I knew I was a stay-home mom, so I needed to work. I knew I was a stay-home mom, and I knew myself, my own character, and how I work around things. So I needed to make sure that whatever I do, I'm not going to pretend like I have all the time in the world, a 9-to-5 corporate time like anyone else. And if you're a small business owner, you have no kids and stuff like that. That's the first thing, accepting the reality of my situation and the timing that I have. So to be really real and honest, during the day, I could barely do anything. And I accepted that that was going to be the fact. Because if I dared to try and do something, I naturally just get absorbed in something. It could even be something as simple as an email. And something as simple as an email it takes me a bit of time to try and, think of and compose it and stuff like that. And I told myself, I'm not going to try and work any sort of full on work things or business things during the day, especially when the kids are around, because you kind of end up, what you say, you either lash at them or they want your attention and you're trying to, there's just something could go wrong somewhere. And I decided I'm not going to try to even compete with that. So what I did, I became a night owl. And I've always been a night owl. Kezia would probably know this even better. As architects, we're just used to working at night.
For sure.
It's quieter, it's calmer, and it's just so much better. So yeah, that's what I do. During the day, I'm with the kids as much as possible. The most I would do during the day for the business was the social media. Because you have your phone, and the phone, at least the kids wouldn't disturb me too much. So I'd always have my social media posts done at that time, my social media engagements at that time, doing my research for products, Pinterest. A lot of the time I'd always be, checking ideas there, reading articles. That's the time I would do sort of my more hands-off kind of thing for both, and that was both for Letasi and Fundibox. So then in the evening is when I really get productive, and either I'm making a product or I'm working on an idea or writing on the emails or doing the packing packing the orders that have come in and stuff like that. So that was the kind of system that I had in place for me to be able to manage basically Letasi and Fundibox for a moment. And another thing that I haven't mentioned, this is going to be quite a surprise to everyone, that I've actually put Fundibox on pause. Now that's a bombshell that we will come to, but it also comes back to the
Why?
systems. Yes, that's what I'm saying. It comes back to the systems that you've literally asked me about. Now, while Fundibox is a great, the subscription box is a great service, and trust me, it's not, I didn't close it because it was not doing great. It was doing so well. It was honestly, it was still going strong. But I hadn't got the systems properly in place. Now, because I was doing all the pack, which is fine. I don't mind doing the packing of the boxes. I don't mind doing the what can I say? The curating the ideas. Those ones are easy things. It's just the little nitty gritties about like emails or just constantly changing, because obviously fine, it's one product a month, so you have to change the website look, not the look, but the product page. You have to update the blog and stuff like that. Stuff which I just couldn't start to keep up with now because there's just so many things going. Moreover, we had moved house, so it's also another thing altogether. But I felt to a moment that I was not doing justice to Fundibox. Now, Letasi, on the other hand, grew so much that it had a team doing everything, so I literally just become like the creative, I've just become the creative sort of strategist, doing things left, right. I mean, they basically ask me what's happening here, and I tell them, okay, do this, do that, do that. When they need me, if it's something that absolutely needs my help, then I'll do it, which is what I hadn't set up for Fundibox. And that's why I've actually put Fundibox on pause, especially as 31 Homes is coming up. Because 31 Homes UK started briefly because we had moved house and I was doing all this interior design for the house. Then I started to get clients for it. And it does need a bit more of time. And because 31 Homes is not like a business where I can sit home. Like the other two businesses, I was literally just doing it from home, sit, do nothing. Not do nothing, but sit and organize things from home. 31 Homes needs me to go out to the clients, visit their homes, see the interiors, do like all this stuff. And it's not completely different business, but it's a different setup, which for me is a new challenge in a way. It's a new way of doing things. And while I learned on job with Letasi and Fundibox, I learned so much with them. especially things like systems. So that's also what I want to do with 31 Homes now, is try to get those systems in place. It's just, it's taking a bit more out of my comfort zone. I mean, I've been out of the regular career world for a while. So everything where I've been sort of doing it on my own with just stay home mom style. And it's a completely different industry altogether as well. So that's why Fundibox has been on pause. And my subscribers are actually, they were a bit gutted, but I will bring it back when I'm good and ready, and definitely with better systems in place. Things like having a VA to do it, and to do things, which, guys, I cannot emphasize it enough. If you can, even though you're just starting, if you can get someone to help with just the nitty gritties, and I'll kind of give you a little breakdown if we do have time, or maybe in part 2 of how to systemize your business. But those are things that if you can systemize as much as you can. Fundibox grew so much. It grew to the point where even when I wanted to start to systemize, it was a bit, call it too late. Because even when you're bringing in someone, you need to not train, but you need to show them the ropes. And if you can do it as early as you can, then the better. And if you're doing it gradually as you continue, then, and you have the time, unlike me, of course, I still have the kids sort of running about and stuff like that. You'll need to sort of work with them hand in hand to be able to continue the system. So yeah, in a nutshell, that's literally how I did it. I think that's out of everything that people pick, be realistic with your current situation. If you're working a 9 to 5, don't pretend that in between there, maybe you can, I don't know, we're all different, but know your strengths and know what you can and cannot do, and accept that, and work with what you can. And, if you can't do some things, find another way to reallocate that time. So that's how I did it with these systems, and it grew, and it worked for me. And I was not stressed out whatsoever, because when I started to fight with myself and fight with the time for the kids and trying to fit the business into the kids' time, it just wasn't working. It just made me so stressed out. And beyond just the kids' time, I'm still a wife. I'm still a wife here at home. Need to keep the house in order, and need to keep things going. Need to do the grocery shopping and stuff like that. So work with the time that you can actually use without being interrupted. And for me, I'm always, if I'm going to start sewing a project, or if I'm starting to create something, I like undivided time. So evenings are the ones that work better for me. So that's how I pretty much got them set up.
Wow, thank you for sharing. I've heard be realistic with your current situation, work with what you can, have a team and assistant or assistants if you can. And yeah, those are some of the things that have worked for you. Thank you for sharing that. I would like to, before I ask my next question, I would like to give the opportunity to one person to ask a question, so that it's not just me talking.
Yeah.
Is there anyone who would like to ask a question at this point?
Come on, don't be shy.
Nobody. Okay. Nobody. All right.
I have a question, but I think Patricia. It's for the end. Yes, mine is about systems. I need to learn everything about it. So just be warned, we will be stalking.
Yes, okay, Patricia, let me give you the first tip. Maybe that's a good one to start with. But I think, like I said, I think Kezia, we will have to organize discussion about systems for part 2, because that we could talk about all day. But one very important thing about systems to start with, for you to be able to recognize what bit of your business you need to take for 1 week. Just sit down and think about, like, basically write down every time you say, okay, I'm going to go shopping for the products. So you say you leave at X time and see how much time that took. Okay, I'm going to now sit at my desk and respond to emails. Even if it takes 5 minutes, note it down. So for a week, note down a period of time that you've taken on items regarding the business. And the more you do that, the more you will start to realize, oh, I spent this much time on it, I'm not too great at it, or I'm not making use of that time. I'd rather, this is something that I can actually outsource to someone. You know, this is where I can get an assistant to be able to help. And for example, those 10 minutes going out to look for to deliver something, for example, you could get someone to do the deliveries for you, because that takes out, those 10 minutes add up. Eventually, if you have like 6 deliveries, that's an hour in your day, in your week. Would you rather use that hour somewhere else? Can you do that? So that's one way to start. Just write them down and see. Maybe you need the help at some point. Maybe you realize, okay, then maybe I can't do it myself. I'll just organize my time better. So that's a quick tip for systems.
Wonderful. I'd like to say that we are going to organize part 2. And I think we should really talk about systems in detail, because that seems to be a real issue for people. But you know, one of the things that I realize about systems is that people don't want to let go of control, because we are creatives. Yeah. So we sort of want things to be done a certain way. And so we wake up in the morning and we say, okay, today this is what needs to be done. And then the next day, this is what needs to be done.
Yeah.
So I feel like part of the problem with us as creatives not learning how to systemize is not feeling like we can let go of control, because there's that selfish mindset that only we can do things a certain way, you know?
Yeah.
And so I'd like to know how did and so I'd like to know how did you deal with that letting go of control
so you see,
for certain things.
So that's why I said first you start to write them down, and then as soon as you write them down, you identify and say, okay, it's things like deliveries, or it's things like writing out an email. So if you've got those emails, if it's the emails, or it's like admin stuff like just writing out emails, as soon as you're bringing someone on board, you have to obviously not train them, but you have to walk them through how your system is done. But it's easier because you know this is just the specific thing that you want them to do. The reason with us being creatives and feeling, oh, I want to take control of this, is because in that moment, if you don't write it down, it feels like you absolutely have to do it yourself. But if you write it down and you just look at it as an overall picture, you start to realize, but do I really have to do the delivery myself? But do I really have to write this email? I can write just the generic template, put them all in Word and say, okay, every time someone responds with this, you basically tell the person, you know, they respond with this, you have this response to it. Or if they're not sure about it, let them come back to you, first check with you, and then they'll respond back. So it really all just comes down to first writing it all down. And as soon as you write it all down, then you start to think through your head and you're like, oh, but actually, even as a creative, trust me, writing it down helps. And then even as a creative, that's when you start to say, oh, but maybe, this, I don't really need to do it myself, you know, but let me train this person into doing it. It doesn't, and it's definitely not going to be a one-day thing, but it will eventually work as you start to let go in that way, because you still have control of what the person is writing. It's just not you who's writing it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes total sense. So I'd just like to say at this point that we are ending the call at 1 p.m. because this is the time slot that Comfort has, 12 to 1. And so we're going to end the call at 1 p.m. and then we'll do part 2. We can do part 2 next week, yes?
Mm-hmm. I think there's a question in the chat from Janet.
Yes, there's a question in the chat. I just wanted to say that to make everyone aware. All right.
I mean, I could probably give a few more minutes after.
A few extra minutes? Okay.
Yeah, just a few extra minutes after. I think, maybe another 20 minutes after 1. I'm fine.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Good to know. Awesome. So you could answer the question that Janet has asked in the chat. She's asking about social media. Do you need a VA for social media at the beginning? And maybe as you answer that, you could also just explain to us how you handle your social media, because I know that you have a very vibrant social media. I can't keep up for the life of me with, like, in terms of managing my own social media. I'm sort of like, okay, there'll be a season where I'll remember I need to post this week. And then there'll be a season where I'm like, it's okay. The pages are there. Life goes on. So just share a bit about social media management.
God. I probably, and I'm going to be very brutally honest about this, but while everyone does say that you should have, and I think the time is definitely coming with the new systems for me that I'm putting in place for 31 homes, I think it depends on the nature of the business, first of all. But people do say you need to sort of plan it out, which is great, because there are all these, there's Planner, there's Later, all these social media apps that you can use. But remember when I said I worked around the kids and the time that the kids are available. I personally love being as real on my social media as possible. So it's sort of the only commitment I put in my head is I need to post something at very least every day. If not every 2 days. Now, obviously, at the moment, Letasi and Fundibox, because of all the changes happening, I haven't done that. But that was always my rule. At the very least, a day or every 2 days, just choose a time that you're going to be very consistent with it. Now, when you do choose your consistency time, it's about also, how do I put it? Because I liked sort of posting how my day is going, I had the time around the kids. Like I said, during the day, the most they could allow me to do was just, have my phone around, and I'll, just do that. So it was always, oh, okay, now I'm actually, I had this picture which I took last night when I was making something. So I'll post that one thing and just share that. Stories is also another thing that I would always just share. I think I enjoy just the social media bit, and that's why it became, I don't know, it's the fun side of it, because the other bits like setting up the website and stuff, it's all there and it's running. So it's just the social media. I feel the social media is the one, it's always the bulk of the job. So obviously I'm more of Instagram, and I post on Instagram and it's immediately connected to Facebook. So I don't have to do both. Choose your strength. That's just another thing. Choose your strength. If it's Instagram, if it's going to be Facebook, use one of the two. So I think that is how I did it. And that's how it worked in my favor as, being stay-home mom and whatnot. I was able to post every day because I said, it only takes 5 minutes for you to post something. So I would always just post out in the middle of the day at some point. Of course, you sort of learn, eventually you start to learn when your people on social media are more active, what time is it mornings that they're active. So you try and find your 5 minutes in the morning. It's just 5 minutes, guys, literally just 5 minutes. And also when you start to respond to, and engagement is the other thing. So you post something and respond back to them. When people start to interact, when they comment, always try to comment back, and not just thanks or what, just try if you can. I mean, sometimes it could be as simple as thank you, but if you can, try and create, a bit more, say something a bit more, just a few, how can I say, just talk more, talk to them more, because these are the people who are going to keep you going. So Janet, do you need a VA? If you can, yeah. If you can, I mean, like I said, it also really depends on the nature of the business. You could have sorry, my printer is running at the moment. If you have a VA right from the get-go, and you have it all planned out, and you say, okay, this is what you're going to post, then well and good, go ahead. But I like to post. I enjoy my social media interactions, so it's so much more fun for me to actually post as I go, rather than plan it out. And even if you do plan it out, you can always pause what you planned and post what you need for that day. I don't know if that helps, but yeah, that is how it worked for me.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. In the chat, So Severe gives us a pro tip. And I'll just have to say that, So is like a real pro in social media matters. We should have him on and ask him to share with us his wisdom one of these Thursdays. But he says a system on how to create posts, write and save posts in drafts for later. Yeah, so that is just a tip for you. The other question that was asked in the chat is, what are your social media pages? I think we'll just share those at the end, or share them in the groups.
Yeah, I could probably write them down.
Yes.
Anyway.
Yeah, you could just write them down in the chat maybe and just put them there. And if you're in Faces and Spaces, you'll find them in the Faces and Spaces WhatsApp group. You could also, I know Anita, I'll send you those social media pages. So all her businesses have pages. Letasi Design Studio, then there's Fundi Box and 31 Homes. So, and that's across platforms.
Yeah.
So mainly Instagram and Facebook, yes?
Yeah, exactly.
31 Homes UK, mainly Instagram and Facebook.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, and so is asking, I was wondering at what point, guys, So Severe, that's his real name, like it is his name. Okay, not like real baptized name, but it's his name. So I was wondering, at what point in your businesses do you make the decision to hire or outsource, or to make someone, or outsource to someone else and let go of something you know someone else can handle better? How do you know when to let go and with trust? That's Severe.
Yeah, that's a big one. Like I said, again, it really depends on, I personally think anyway, it really does depend on your nature of business, and at what level you have been in your business. Now, when you're just starting out, I wanted to understand my business. So when I was starting out with both Letasi and Fundibox, they're more or less, they're product-based businesses, except Fundibox pushes more towards service as well. So and those two, because they were sort of new and I had the time to myself to learn. And that's that's another tip that I kind of share with small business owners. Don't rush it. Like, there is no need for you to rush. If you have to learn these systems, if you're not, because you're trying to sort of save, I wouldn't say save money, but you have to also be realistic with your expenses. So you can't exactly just jump into hiring a VA right from the get-go. First, because you don't understand exactly why you're trying to hire the VA. So if you can understand, do you really need someone to create, I don't know, those, this, if you can learn as much of the details of the business as you can, if you can learn as much of the business as you can, that helps, because that's how I mean, how can I say this? With Letasi, I wanted to know how, like I said, after I was told your social media is not right, I was like, but I still it didn't sit right with me, because I wanted my social media to be done the way I wanted it, to connect with people, to create a community, which is what it's done now. Like, even though I haven't posted in a while, when I do post now, I still get that much engagement. I still get the same people, and I still get that feeling from people, because now people understand what's going on. Same thing I did with Fundibox. So you need to first understand, and so Severe, I hope this helps. When you're starting out, if you can try and first understand this, the business itself, what it is that you need to do. If it's something about delivery, how does delivery system work? If it's something, you're not a big company where you have to have it all figured out at the beginning. No, it's something that it's a step-by-step process. And that's the advantage that we as small business owners have over big companies, because we have the advantage to be able to learn different kinds of skills, different kind of skills. And if you have to get extra help with being able to learn, in other words, jump on someone else's profile. I mean, look and kind of stalk your competition, check their website, see what they have, what works for them, what resonated with you, what do you think that what you copying, but it's sort of just taking inspiration, you know? So first learn what what you need to learn about the business, because you can't outsource what you don't understand as well. So that's the first thing. And then once you've figured it out and you've got the business going, because you're not outsourcing because you just don't have the time. Well, eventually you will get to that point when you don't have the time, but if you don't understand what you're outsourcing, there's no point. So first learn, as a small business, first learn what you need to understand about the business. And then once you figured it out, then you can say, okay, this is the bit that, like, again, back to my list that I told you, the list for the day, writing it all down and saying, okay, this really takes a huge chunk of my time. And to be honest, I don't really enjoy it, and I'm not that great at it. Yes, I've understood what needs to be done, but I'm not great at it. And that can also help you make your decision, you know? Things like social media may not be your strength. So you're like, okay, well, I have a cousin, or, well, I wouldn't call it a cousin. I know my friend X who's really good at it. Or here we have what they call Fiverr, but even still, I mean, in UK, I think the Faces and Spaces group is such a great one, because you can just post there and say, guys, who's good at social media handling? And then they'll send you people to sort of recommendations. And of course, out of those recommendations, you have their sort of, from those recommendations, if the person is as good as they say they are, they should have some credit reviews or something, a presence somewhere for you to be able to kind of do your stalking about them. If it's something like a blog, again, you may not be able to do your blogging, but there are people, and that's what I really loved about the growth of business in Uganda and the UK now. People are finding their strengths. People used to look down on assistants, and you're thinking, yeah, it's just an assistant. Nowadays, someone actually has set up a business of just having assistants, because they know assistants are needed and this is what they do. So you can find those kind of people. If you're bootstrapping and you don't have the money to pay them at that moment, you can, and that's where the point of trust again will come. How do you know when to let go? Well, first you will know when to let go, because the work will be overwhelming, and you've written down your list and you see what's going on and what needs to be outsourced and what you do not enjoy or what you're not really good at. And those are things where if you can have someone who's doing it, trust me, you'd rather spend that money, get someone who you know doing it much better, much quicker, saving you the time, and then you can actually focus on things that you know to grow your own business. That's how you know when to let go, and that's how you will that's how you know, because you know that person will handle it better. And then you can figure out how to, you may not even have to pay them sort of money. It might also be service for service. So you could actually work out, you say, okay, I'll give you this service in exchange for your service. You just need to be creative about how you sort of work out what needs to be done. But regarding of when you know you need to let go, you will actually know. And at what point in the business, that's a big question. Like I said, once you're starting out, you don't honestly, it depends on the business. You don't honestly need all those people to sort of run the business for you, because you're a small business and you are really just starting. But now, like for me, in my case, I did that with Letasi and I did that with Fundibox, because I had the time and I was trying to figure it out, and I didn't put pressure on myself to think, oh, I need to grow it very fast. Eventually it grew, and I started to, because I knew the systems and I knew what I could let go, and I could actually genuinely say, okay, this is what it is. I had people come in, I looked through their reviews. People actually offered, we also put a post on social media, on your own social media platforms. Just say, guys, I've got this and this and this. People are there, genuinely out there. And of course, you just sort of, from the feedback that you get, their responses, you do your due diligence and check their backgrounds and just check their presence, even social media, Facebook, check them properly. And then you will know that this person can actually help you out in your business. So that's what I did with Letasi and with And that's what I'm hoping to do with Fundi Box, but that's definitely what I'm doing with 31 Homes UK at the moment. 31 Homes UK, I know exactly, and it's just a beginning business. It's literally just starting, but I know as I was putting it together, as I was putting the business together, I know exactly, and this is something that I learned, which was great from doing Letasi and Fundi Box, that I definitely need systems. And just from that experience, I know exactly what my strengths are, what I'm not good at, and that's going to be easier for me to be able to get my assistants who are going to help, or assistant who's going to be able to help me with that. And if you're in the UK, it's normally through like Fiverr or Upwork or outsource work or something like that. Even just putting it on your social media, just post and say, guys, on stories and say, guys, I'm looking for someone to help me with this. If you know anyone, please send them recommendations my way. So I hope that helps. So Sylvia.
Thank you so much. I believe it helps. I believe it helps. Definitely, there's no point in outsourcing something that you yourself don't understand. So understand that and find out, and then you can be able to assess at what point to outsource. That said, I would like us to dive into teams a little bit more. I'm interested in so 3 things I'd like us to talk about within this call. Teams, how you handle the Uganda UK connection, especially with Letasi. I know you've done a lot with Letasi, sourcing fabrics from Tanzania, getting them to the UK and Uganda, and then having a team in Uganda, having a team in Tanzania. That whole, that just, I'd like us to learn from your management of your team for Letasi Design Studio. And then you said something about a coach in your introduction, and how you had to get a coach, I think, for Fundi Box. So you could just tell us how that coaching relationship worked out, and how it helped you accelerate that dream. And then the third thing is the regulations. How are you dealing with regulations in the UK? Just starting a business. How easy is it to start a business in the UK? I'd like to know for 31 Homes, how are you dealing with that? Going around the regulations of starting an interior styling business. So those are 3 areas.
So the question about teams, yes, so Letasi is very much gosh, it's a proper tree, that one, because it's got its branches all over the place. The one thing that really worked out great for me, especially with being able to create the teams, is Letasi is the business of its own, but it survives on the other businesses. So it's sort of like a chain link in a way. Now, without the batikas, Letasi is nothing. And without the producers or production team in Uganda, Letasi is nothing. Yeah. So I almost feel like I'm a conductor in a way. And the one very critical thing that I do with all the guys I work with is I don't take their business away from them. If anything, I promote their businesses for them. And that has been something that has worked so much in my favor. Now, it's something that may not work for everyone, but I felt, because for me, my businesses, I think one of my key goals in all my businesses is to be able to promote and support fellow business owners. And being in the position that I am in the UK, and knowing the potential of handmade materials and crafting and all that, that creativity that I just so badly want to show and bring out in everyone. So even if you go to my Letasi page, I clearly show you who is making your fabrics. And each of those guys, each of the batikas, have their own businesses, and they know it. It's not like I'm saying you exclusively for Letasi, so don't make any other fabrics for anyone else. No, I pretty much just promote them as them. And when I get their fabrics, I'm like, yay, Dunstan has brought me fabrics. And he is absolutely great at what he does. Agatha has done her job and she's fantastic at what it is. This fabric I got from Agatha. You know, it's not like and yes, of course, everyone will say, oh, but there's the risk of you letting go of your service or letting go of your team. I mean, you're sort of giving away their business. It's one thing that I want them to do. I want them to throw just as much as I would love for them to produce my stuff. So and there's a clever way of doing it. That's another detail to go into. So if someone feels they don't want to buy from Letasi and they'd rather go to Agatha directly, fine, well and good, they will find Agatha. When they come to me, I'll basically say, okay, I'll tell Agatha what she needs and you still pay me via Letasi fee. If you feel like, oh, Letasi is a bit too much, you will find Agatha somehow. I may or may not give you the details for Agatha and stuff like that. So in a way, that's why I said it's a bit complex there, but I really just want their businesses to grow. And God, it has actually worked. I'm so proud of those batikas right now. So proud of them because their businesses have blown up. Even in this last 1-2 years that we've been together, gosh, they have really, really grown. And it's amazing. And yet at the same time, Letasi has equally grown because we're now moving into a service beyond production of just production of the fabrics. We're now doing training services in Uganda and in the UK. And out of my batikas, I know who's stronger at what. And for example, Dunstan covers my training program. So every time I need we get a request for someone to do training for batik making in Uganda, Dunstan is the one who gets to go because he's absolutely brilliant at that. And he's also a bit more switched on and he's got like an online sort of training program and stuff like that. So it was easy for the UK training program that requested for batik training for me to just link and say, okay, you know what, Dunstan, you're going to do this because, so that is how I kind of handle my teams. And when I talk about the production end, because now I've got a shop, and I'm working with Rita. So Rita and Rita sells some what does she have? She has like some clothes of her own, but we work together because her marketing skills are ace. You know, she's really good at marketing. And I found her networking. This is another question that probably keeps coming up. How do I find these people? It's just networking. Just talk to them. Talk to people on Facebook, social media. You network, and you can see how people's strengths. And that's how I found Rita. And she's now managing our shop. She's doing the marketing that's the Uganda end. And then the lampshades are made by Andrew, and Andrew is just a star. I don't even know how he does it. I don't know, but he's just a superstar in making lampshades. And you'd never imagine that someone in Uganda can actually make lampshades, but he's absolutely brilliant at it. And I've been encouraging, and you can see on my post, I basically post the lampshades and I say, lampshades are made by Andrew. And you know, that's because I'm promoting him. I want to promote his businesses. And doing that has really made me create a strong team because fine, like there is the risk. I mean, someone could come in, join the team and decide they want to go, well and good, or they could think of screwing me over and yeah. But it's just, I've not had that thing, thank God. I've not had any issues with my team because again, I really strongly believe, and I think we've got this symbiotic system where we believe that we grow off each other's strength. And then they come in and they say, okay, how do we do this, madam? How do we do this? And I'm like, okay, let's try this. Let's try that. There are moments I'll go quiet and they understand and keep checking in, madam, are we okay? And they're fine. Because those moments when I go quiet, I don't want them to sort of die just because Letasi is not getting orders from them. They still should be able to continue their businesses based on what I've taught them, what we've been able to share as a team. They can use the knowledge they've picked from working with Letasi to be able to thrive in their own businesses. And that's what has happened. And that's how the team works. Yeah, I hope that one helps. The next question was coach.
It definitely does. Yes, the next question was coach, the coach. Yes. How did the and Fundi Box?
Yeah, I'm kind of, I had a great coach because I accepted that I needed to learn about a subscription. It was a whole new thing that was coming in. And the reason why I particularly went for a coach was because I didn't seem to be getting that. Like I said, I'm very hands-on when I'm full on research when I'm trying to find out something. So if I cannot find the information on the internet, free information on the internet, trust me, there's a lot of it. I cannot find that information that I need, and if I cannot be able to manage all, trying to really figure out what it is, I will say, okay, this is where I put my hands up and I say, I do need help. I do need help, and I'm willing to actually get that help from a coach. And so that's how I ended up getting a coach. And the coach I got, she basically was the one who she had a subscription box that I just, oh my God, like up till now, like I love her boxes. Like I to the point where after I post Fundi Box, I was just thinking, she made an announcement on her website, on her box website, asking for crafters, so someone to work on the team to just come up with ideas for crafts. And I was so tempted to just, like that's how much I love her boxes. So that's how I got my coach, and she's been absolutely brilliant. And the thing with my coaches, it's not just about the business. My coaches have always been, I've had a few more on the side, but the reason why I particularly pick them, of course, I said they're really good at what I want to know, but they go beyond just coaching for the business, because they go deeper into your mindset. There were days when it was just hard, like I just couldn't figure it out. And she'd literally tell me, you know what, Comfort, stop for this whole week, just stop. Just go out, just take a holiday, take walks. She literally tells you, just stop from the business and go, like stop. Like if I've got that person to go to, and someone might think, why do you have to pay someone to remind you to stop working? But that is what I needed. And I absolutely love her for that. I mean, she's, gosh, like my coaches, like even the coach, there's another coach I have right now for 31 Homes, but it's the same thing. Like they go above and beyond. It's not just like, you never feel like it's just the money. You never feel like it's just you're just a number to them. And yet you still get so much help with your business. Like things, like I said, I'm one person who really knows how to figure things out. I won't lie. Like I will figure things out somehow. But what I appreciate about them is that they actually, I mean, she's been there and she's obviously doing it a bit faster. So instead of me wasting all this time going through the internet and really scratching my head and not getting it right and making some mistakes, getting a coach really did, she held my hand through it all. And some things which, even though I know I already know, there are ways that they're done a bit differently. And like, me, like I said, I'm always this kind of person who says, we're going the same direction. Everyone is saying, let's go this way. I'm like, yeah, let me try this way and then get there. And they understand that about me, and they work with that. So that's the tip about my coaches, if that helps, because
Oh yes, it does help. I've heard that, find a coach who is interested in really truly helping you and helping you get the distance. Can we invite one of our coaches on here later? I don't know. They sound like great coaches. Like even you want to have those coaches. I know. Someone has said to tell us all about what. Yes, I think that's a relevant thing for us to understand what coaching is. Yeah, to understand what coaching is and what we can look out for in a coaching relationship.
Yeah,
I think that's actually, that's true.
There's actually, I was nervous about calling it being a coach, but I would probably say being a mentor as well. And don't worry, so severe. In the long run, it is coming to you soon. You're going to get Comfort Smithson as a coach or a mentor soon. But just don't worry, it's somewhere in the pipeline. But Yeah, I think coaching is more, I like the word mentoring, because coaching is sort of more focused towards just being, I don't know, how do you say it, just towards the business. And yet a mentor sort of guides you through, shows you through on good days, bad days, beyond just the business, sort of helping you understand, basically being that person aside yourself, piece of advice, or second, who's guiding you through and navigating your businesses. But yeah, it's something that I would happily chat about again, probably in the systems discussion, probably, or something like that.
Yeah, and also I think we'll organize like a different session as well, where we can just talk about coaching as
Absolutely.
yeah. All right, so you can go ahead and answer that final question about 31
Yeah.
Homes UK.
Yes, so 31 Homes UK. How do I set up the regulation? So they're for Letasi and Fundibox. They are pretty much set up as just like a sole trader. So because those ones are particularly set up in, how do I say it? You set, like in the UK, you have to have a threshold of, you're making about £10,000 in a year, which is, I don't know how much that is in Uganda. Someone do the math. But yeah, if you're making a maximum of like £10,000 a year, and that means obviously added up every month. That's what 10,000 divided by 12. Gosh, my math is really bad. So about, call it maybe £1,900 ish or so in profits every month. Then if you're hitting that threshold, then that means you have to become a company, and you have to register yourself fully and compliant with the tax authority called HMRC here and stuff like that, which I think it's URA in Uganda or something like that. Yeah, it is URA in Uganda, not something like that. But yeah, so that is how we set up. That's how I set up Letasi and Fundibox. Now, I did not, while I was, yes, exactly. So while I was getting really good money, I didn't hit, and I haven't hit those thresholds, which is also very good for me, because then it saves me all having to do the tax returns and stuff like that. Because like I said, I'm really in control. And guys, maximize being a small business, because you are fully in control of it. Like, you really get to understand it in and out, so that you're able to regulate, like work out how fast you want to go or how slow you want to go. Letasi and Fundibox were blowing up. Like, they got to a point in the UK, they were blowing up, like really. And I'm not saying this trying to feel good about it or not, but they were doing really well, to the point where I had to cap it a bit, because I have my family that I have to be, focusing on. But I had to cap it because it was so fast that I was still not understanding what's happening. So I'm still doing them as sole traders. So I don't have to submit, like, I will just submit an assessment, but I don't have to set up like accountants and all that. And they treat you as a baby business, so they don't overdo you. 31 Homes, yes, it's also still a sole tradership. Now, 31 Homes is a property styling and home staging business. So it's not interior design, it's not architecture, which you have to get like the full on sort of regulation from the memberships themselves. I mean, from the architectural associations and stuff like that. This one is what they call just a trading business. And when you're setting up the companies, they have what they call SIC codes, SIC codes. So there's specific codes that you have to put in for taxes. Now, I don't have to set up 31 Homes as a company just yet, but I deliberately decided to do so because I know, given how much I'm going to be charging my clients, I will very easily hit that £10,000 threshold that I was talking about. So, and because 31 Homes, I'm being very careful to set it up right from the get-go, so that I don't have to deal with, all the problems that I had with setting up, not problems, but all the difficulties that I faced with Fundibox. Now I want to get my systems in place. I want to get the accountants in time. I've got the bank accounts as well, all sorted out, the regulations that are needed with the tax all set up in place, so that I start to just focus on the business itself. So I don't know if that helps. Kezia?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. It helps, especially in understanding just how you navigated. Okay, I think you answered it, because my question came from the angle of knowing what it takes to, say, open up an architectural business. And so you explained how there's a distinction, and there's a clear distinction from having an architectural business versus, interior styling and property, management. Exactly. So I understand. So it's good that you've got all your
because with property styling, it's pretty much just, you're not doing too much of breaking down of the property, of the house itself, or it's literally presenting it, like enhancing the what already exists. And that's the main thing. It's really enhancing what already exists. So you're not damaging any walls. You're not, you just, if you have to do anything to the walls, pretty much it's just painting. And then you're putting in furniture. And if it's a quirky, weird floor plan, you're basically setting it up in a way that, because some people might see the floor plan and think, ugh, what do I do here? Like, it's such a weird corner there. I don't know what to do with it. So you're pretty much telling them you can put this. And you're doing, like, some people might just want the consultation. And you basically tell them, okay, for this room, do X, Y, Z, declutter this, take this out, put this, stuff like that, recommendations. There's some that are vacant, completely empty properties or empty houses, and they're trying to organize them for sale. But how do you appeal to the buyer? You need to get the buyer into the buyer's mind and present the house in a way that the buyer would be like, oh, I actually want that house. So again, doing the shopping for them, but interior designing, interior styling. So it's more, how people actually are like stylists for clothes and stuff like that. So yes, houses do need to be styled as well. You need to have the right impression right from when you're coming in. That means the front door has to be proper, the garden has to be clean. You're not going to find some funny things. So that's what it is with property styling. Some people have Airbnbs that need to be presented in a level that's an Airbnb type. So they will hire my services to be able to design it in a way. So it's not interior design. Now, the difference between interior design and property styling, interior design is very personal. That means I will come to your house and you will tell me, okay, I want a shark theme, because a shark theme is very personal and it is you individually. Now, styling, interior, home styling and home staging is more of styling a property or a house to be ready for a bigger audience. So that means you have to do it to appeal. Anyone who walks in there should still feel, wow. They should still remember that wow that I was talking about from the beginning that I wanted to do with architecture. And that's what I'm doing. It's for a lot more people, a lot more eyes, a lot more people to respond to, as opposed to just one individual person saying, I want X in my house and it has to be this particular thing, because your taste might not appeal to someone else's taste. So so that's the difference with interior design, architecture, and interior styling and staging.
Yeah, and just I think it's a naming thing. What is that word that is used for naming? Anyway, it's semantics. It's a semantics thing. But interior decor and interior styling are the same exact thing. While interior design and interior architecture are the same exact thing. But anyway, let's not go into that whole thing. But all right, what is interior architecture? That could literally take us another 30 minutes, Patricia. I think that we'll probably do maybe another I think that's an idea also for another session, to explain the differences in the market, and also to help people find their footing, because I realize that many people want to become interior stylists or interior decorators, but they keep saying they want to become interior designers.
Exactly.
And to become a designer, you have to do the course. Like, you have to, I don't know, you have to go the long route, because there's so many things involved with buildings that you must know. While interior styling and decor is more on the artistic and visual side of things, and it's equally fulfilling. And
I will
sorry.
say though, I mean, there's also a slight level of beyond just interior decor, because you're again, it comes down to depersonalizing it as opposed to personalizing, and it takes us, there's a slight level of training, no, not training, but a little bit of information that you need to actually know just before you do it as a business. Actually, that's the best way I can say it. If you're going to do interior styling or interior decorating as a business, there's stuff that you actually need to know, which makes you stand out from doing it as a hobby and doing it as a business. That's very, very important to add.
Yes, definitely. I agree with you. So I believe that for every, like, if you're going to do it and do it well, you need to research, you need to get your information. And now, because I think interior styling is also more established, there are actually like serious courses, you can do an entire course for that. And or learn on the job. Learning on the job is the hard way, but it can still be done. It can still be done. Yeah. I'm going to put on my video, hoping that the connection will remain. I just close this conversation. All right. Thank you, everybody, for coming today. Thank you, Comfort, for joining us and for accepting this invitation to come here and share with us today. It's been delightful. If we have any extra questions, you can share them with me directly or put them in the Faces and Spaces group, or find Comfort on social media and message her directly if you have a question that's specifically for her, and also you could also find out about her upcoming coaching program. Yes. Thank you so much, Comfort, for doing this today. It's been awesome for me.
Oh, thank you. No, honestly, thank you, Kez. I'm, like I said, I could share and talk to people and encourage people all day long, because I think people underestimate themselves. They have it in them. They just don't want to, or they just don't know how to get it. It's not don't want to. They just don't know how best to use what it is. But I keep saying, like, if there's anything you take away, that I will just use what you have it right in front of you. Start with that, and then
yeah. And I like what you said, work with what you have, and be realistic and work from there.
Exactly.
And so I'm going to put my video off. You'll give your closing remarks, and then we'll just say bye. I see people already leaving.
Yeah. So guys, this has been part 1. Absolutely loved being here. Thank you, Kez, for inviting me. The key thing about part 1 that I was trying to bring forward, that hopefully came across, is like I said, start with what you have. What you have is right before you. Start with that and think, okay, what can I do with what I have right now? And be realistic with yourself. Be absolutely realistic with your situation. Your situation is not someone else's situation. Don't compare yourself. You never know what's going on in someone else's life, but be realistic with what you can and cannot do with your time. So looking forward to part 2, whenever it will be. I hope Kez will let us know. But it's been absolutely brilliant, guys. Take care and keep doing what you can do within your means. It is absolutely possible. The sky is the limit, as we keep saying.
Yeah. And could we do part 2 next week? I mean, why delay it?
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
all for it. Yeah, let's do part
Most
2 next
definitely.
week.
Let's do part 2 next week. So that will give you time to like prepare your questions. You've had her story, you've had her share from you know, her progression in terms of education, but also in terms of business, in terms of just creativity, and all the questions that we've asked have probably led to the formation of other questions.
Yes.
So let's keep those questions and let's meet next week, same time, midday. Let's be on time, and we'll start with, we're going to focus a lot on systems and teams. And I think it's going to be a very, very helpful discussion. And of course, there'll be room to discuss all the other things that we haven't talked about. So come with your questions ready. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you for the people that are still here. Thank you, Josephine. Thank you, Moses. Thank you, Ruth. Thank you, Abigail. Thank you, Patricia. Thank you so severe. And that's it for today. I'll just like to say bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you so much for being
Thank
here.
you guys for coming, and see you guys next week.
Awesome.